So I was saying, fucking, let's kill them. All of them.
We have to kill them all, James. I don't know why Sean Connery is speaking to somebody called James in this analogy. But.
Oh my god. Actually, you know what? I don't. Yeah, maybe. You know the story about Sean Connery and Gandalf?
The Wise?
The White. Now, yes, the Wise.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm talking about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Okay. So you mean the actor who played Gandalf?
It was funny because, like, in my head, I'm like, is he thinking, like, I'm talking about two separate Gandalfs?
No, but I mean, I was just making
like,
sure because you talk, like, I have this thing where if somebody brings up an actor's real name and then brings up a fictional character's name, I assume they are talking about, like, it's weird because it's like you're talking about a real person and a fake person.
Yeah. No.
Like,
yeah,
did you hear about Sean Connery's role in the original book, Lord of the Rings?
So yeah, he was offered this. It's a really quick telling. He was offered a role to play Gandalf the Wise. Gandalf the Grey.
Okay, interesting.
And he was like, I don't fucking understand this shit. What the fuck? So no. And then
is that the whole story?
yeah. So long story short, Ian McGregor, excuse me, Ian McKellen is like, yes, please.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. And I believe there was one more role in this sequence of events where it was like another iconic old man, and Sean Connery was offered it yet again, and he was like, no, and then it became something else successful, and he's like, fuck it, next time I get a role offer for some shit that I do not understand, I am just gonna roll with it.
What's this script? The Extraordinary League of Gentlemen.
That is exactly what happened. He's like, he gets the Extraordinary League of Gentlemen hits his desk, and he's just like, whatever, let's go.
Let's do this shit.
Oh my god. Anyway, rest in peace, Mr. Connery, and welcome to the Otaku Remix podcast.
Oh man,
where we talk about anime and other bullshit.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yep. Christopher House on the other end of the mic. My name is Breno Castro. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm good, man. I'm just enjoying this evening before Doomsday. Not to date the episode at all, but we just talked about Sean Connery, so it's fine.
It is November 2nd.
It is November 2nd.
Before Election Day.
dawn before the end.
My night is darkest before the dawn. Now, let me tell you right now, Philadelphia has been a little bit...
Yeah, Philly's been a little rough
unrestful, to say the least, over the last few days and weeks.
Yeah.
And I won't go into the details of how unrestful. From personal experience, I'll say that I've had to deal with some of that. But my roommates are out at the Costco's preparing for the post-political rioting. That we intend to experience here in the city, despite whatever the result is. So when this airs or arrives on the internet in like probably a day or so, and the trajectory of our country is forever changed again, forever. I will definitely have water and spam. So
hey, don't knock it. It's got its own pin.
Yeah. But yeah, enough about IRL stuff. We're here for the fake cartoons.
I know, right?
So, for the fake cartoony stuffs, Chris, is there anything you wanted to tell me? I have one thing I wanted to mention as far as anime is concerned, and a bunch of other nerdy hoo-ha.
Okay, I have one anime in particular, but I kind of want to start on what I actually spend most of my week on. Which was No More Heroes, the remake that was recently, the remaster that was recently published on the Switch.
Gotcha. It's for the Switch. Yeah, I love that series so much.
So to be honest, it's so old at this point that if you didn't play it on the initial Switch, you might have missed it entirely, because the sequel came on the Wii U, which sold like dog shit. And the game sold even worse than that. So, so you may have missed it, but for those who don't know about it, No More Heroes is a quirky, weird,
it's an action game.
It's a 3D beat 'em up is the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
It's not a fantastic beat 'em up. The gameplay is actually kind of mediocre overall, but
you're here for the really funky aesthetic.
For the aesthetic and the atmosphere and the strange writing. It really comes off as like a Japanese man's interpretation of Guy Ritchie films, and like and you know, like those insane crime based films where it's like, oh, you know, you're in the slimy underbelly of the city of American City, not named, although I think it's like Santa Destroy is the name of the city in game.
Yeah, it's like Santa Barbara.
Yeah,
or like...
exactly. But like the whole town's basically filled with like people waiting to be killed and assassins on every corner and stuff like that. And it's
like bumblefuck nowhere, LA or California, excuse me. And
exactly,
it's a fun. It's like Suda 51 has a very unique vibe where it kind of is reminiscent of like something as meta as like watching a Deadpool film, and as like pulpy as like Quentin Tarantino.
Definitely, but it definitely has like the reverence for American cinema that like a lot of Hideo Kojima stuff has, where Hideo is like stuck in the 80s. You know, Suda 51 is like eternally stuck in the aughts of cinema, where everything has to be cool and slick and stylish, and everybody has to have one-liners that are kind of self-referential and stuff like that. And it's quite a trip. I never got to play the initial games. I bought them for the Wii and Wii U later on, but I never really got a chance to play them. And these remakes are pretty good. Unfortunately, the driving in the first one is still shit. They didn't fix it. It is so terrible. The motorcycle is so bad. Like
it's not like a game built with fidelity.
Like, no, but here's the thing. Like, there are some times where there are boring parts in a game, and you'd be like, okay, you know, it's the in between. This motorcycle is unacceptably bad.
I remember it pretty intimately.
It is fucking terrible.
The e-braking on it to like kind of maneuver through the city with any sort of fluidity is like, it looks ugly.
It looks ugly. Here's the thing, like, you watch somebody drive the thing and you assume they're having like a stroke, because it's like, wait, why are you taking a sharp turn there? It's because I've been holding left for like half a minute before it started turning left, and now I'm turning left for half an hour now. It's like, it is so bad. I'm so glad they got rid of it for the second game, that they just made it like a menu basically for the second game.
I've only played through the first two. I didn't play through Paradise Lost or anything beyond the first two.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the first two kind of work as a double feature.
Essentially.
And the rest are just kind of add-ons.
Yeah, they're all like anthology.
Just kind of. I know there's honestly, it was trying to build groundswell for a third one, because the second one sold terribly. Like, even for the Wii U, it sold terribly. So
it came out on the original Wii, though.
Did it come out on the Wii? Oh, you're right, it did. But for the Wii, especially for the Wii, it sold terribly.
Yeah, because I remember I had it and I was like, this game's... I mean, I played the first one already, so I was like, this game was like, you know, it's fucking the shit for me. I really enjoyed it because, like, I was just more predisposed to things that are much more polarizing and fun, in a stylistic sense for the video games back then. Like, not that I'm not now, but in general, like, it was so unlike anything I had seen up until that point, which is like what I appreciate about many video games that I hold dear to myself. Things that are very, maybe not even divergent, but very distinctive when it comes to what they're into, at least one element of the game, you know.
And this one definitely strikes me in that way, where it's really is the atmosphere, the characters' dialogue, the voice acting is like fantastic. I think they got a lot of the
the dub thing is great.
They got a lot of the Metal Gear Solid crew to come in and do the dub, so it's really, really good.
Do you know offhand who voices Travis?
Yeah, it's I forget his name, but it's Liquid.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I don't know any of them offhand, but I imagine. Yeah. But it's been years, so I imagine now having like the voice actor like database that like my brain is built into.
I should bring up his name because he's a really nice guy, and he like he is a genuinely nice.
He's a nice man.
No, he's a genuinely nice dude on like Twitter and stuff, and I should remember his name. My God. But anyway,
are you a hippie?
I'm not a hippie. It's just if you are nice to your fans, you should be recognized by them, and he does great work as Travis. There was a concern because when the first game for the Switch, not the remake, but the like that little mini game collection got announced. He was like, I didn't know this was coming out, so am I not Travis Touchdown anymore? And thankfully they worked it out, and he was able to reprise his role, and he will for the third game, I think. But
nice. He is Robin Atkin Downs.
Thank you. Robin Atkin Downs does an awesome job as Travis Touchdown. Really capitalizes on kind of a scumbag character that you still kind of love in spite of his, douchebaggeriness.
There are a few Metal Gear. There's Quentin Flynn, who plays Henry, who I don't know who the hell Henry is, but that is the voice of Ryder.
That's Henry motherfucking Cooldown. That's his brother.
Oh.
Yeah, remember? Okay. You're forgetting a couple.
It's been so long.
Yeah. It's been so. But anyways, the point I'm getting to is I don't want to go over any specific scenes just because that's the experience of the game, and I really would recommend anybody who has a Switch pick this up. As of right now, it is $17.99 for each game separately. So it's a total of $35 for the two of them. So it's a really good price, considering that both of them are I would say 10 to 20 hour games. And you just you're not going to get to see anything else like it until No More Heroes 3 comes out, which I hope is good. We'll see.
That trailer's fantastic. Oh my god.
The funny thing is that Suda51 has not directed a game since No More Heroes 1.
Hey, let me tell you.
He has produced every game that his name has been attached to, but he's never actually directed a game since No More Heroes 1.
If that trailer from Tokyo Game Show or wherever the heck that No More Heroes 3 trailer came from is any indication, he's locked in. I like what I saw. All right. Whoa, weird cut. Sorry about the cut, technical difficulties, but we're back on it. Chris, you can hear me, right?
I can hear you again.
All right, awesome. Okay, so we were talking about we're
just talking about the expectations for No More Heroes 3. I'm a little concerned that it's going to go way off the deep end, and it doesn't look like the gameplay's changed at all, so it's not like I'm going to get a platinum-style sequel like I did with Nier to Nier Automata or stuff like that. I feel like it's just going to be kind of the same game again, and hopefully the writing sticks a bit better than it did in the second game, because the writing in the second game was here and there. Yeah,
that's my only real concern, honestly. I feel like from a gameplay standpoint, it's going to evolve into something a little bit more modern. But in general, the writing is really what kind of makes or breaks these games in particular, because they're pretty simplistic. Like you said, they're very beat 'em up. But only the bosses have any sort of modicum of complexity. So
and even then, it's barely anything. It's I figured out your trick. There it is.
yeah. So for 1 and 2 in particular, I don't really know anything about the other ones, but those two pretty straightforward as far as the fighting is concerned. Rewarding in enough of a sense, but it's much more heightened when you're fighting in a baseball arena or these weird ninjas and basements and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Colorful cast of characters and that first I believe Jedi fight essentially. and No More Heroes 1, but overall fun experience nonetheless, and I do look forward to 3 as well.
Yeah, so fingers crossed. Actually kind of fits in that whole style over substance thing you had, because you released that video this week.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, just some thoughts on how anime can do, or how shonen anime in particular can rise over that hump when it comes to sort of fitting into the template of shonen. And I feel like that's the only thing that really is the most divergent element of them. When you look at all the types of shonen, you look at, because right now we're all talking about Jujutsu Kaisen, just for example. And there's a lot of shonen-y tropes to be pointed out when it comes to that series, but most people are looking at this obviously the beautiful animation and also the really fun, not dystopian, excuse me, I was about to say that, but dark supernatural world that it's placed into. So
yeah,
but I digress.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, when you have this kind of style going on, you really need to be hitting on all cylinders, especially when the core product itself is nothing spectacular. And I think No More Heroes 1 at the very minimum gets it. And so yeah, definitely if you have a Switch, pick it up while it's still cheap.
As for another style over substance situation, I just started watching Akudama Drive. Do you know that show?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Don't worry about it. Okay, it is a show. You can find it, I believe, on the Funimation app, and which we roll with, and it's fun. It's like set. It was originally set to debut, and another one of the set to debut in the summer that was delayed due to COVID to October. So, which is why we're so thick with anime this fall. Fall's got like 38 new simulcasts. It's crazy. Anyway, but I believe it includes references to, or actually, never mind. It looks like a Blade Runner-esque future. Like it is sort of set in
future dystopian style.
Yeah, future dystopian world, millions of like neon signs and holograms. It's set in between like a war between like the Kanto and Kansai regions of Japan, but not really. Like it's not like the war isn't really present, but like that's just like I'm going very big picture with this. Honestly, they really only dive into this by like episode like, and I'm at 5 right now because I think it's only 5 out. By then. The first few are very not focused on that. It's focused on these characters called Akudama, which I'm not sure what it means, but I will look up later. And it's a very cyberpunk series set about these characters who Akudama are basically criminals that are pursued by the government, and they are. So it follows. Or I believe,
are they generic criminals, or are they like? Do they commit a specific crime?
Each of them is very coined by their by the type of crime that they commit. Like they have names, but they only get called by a name. Like there's a dude who almost looks like K from King of Fighters, and he drives this huge ass motorcycle, and he has a metal arm too, and he's just called the Courier. And then there's this ridiculously dreaded hair, mega buff, like tan dude who's like he's just known as the Brawler. And then there's like, the kid who's got like one cyber eye and floats around everywhere and is like constantly tapping into things. He's called Hacker. There's this Omega tits out for days bitch named, and she's the Doctor. And then their first mission is to basically save another one of them for a lot of money. They believe they've been contacted all by the same contact. And they're like, you have one mission to save this dude, get a shitload of money. And it's another Akudama called Cutthroat. But the pro tag, or the POV character, I want to say, is a girl who gets known as, she's the ordinary person in the situation, and she ends up being called Swindler.
Okay. She's the Matt Damon in this Ocean's 11 group.
She's basically that, yeah. And she just wants to return some money to the courier that he left, he like dropped or whatever. That's the only reason. Through a very large sequence of like unlucky events, she kind of gets pegged as like a Dynadasher person, gets sent to like she gets put on.
It's so Japanese.
And then she gets sent to like a minor offense like holding cell, and then eventually the Akudama start crashing this particular precinct, and then she kind of gets caught up with all of them. And they're like, are you another Akudama? She's like, and then so she feels so threatened because all of them intend to kill her, that she basically just was like, yeah, I am a super gangster swindler. And they're like, okay, cool. They just kind of go with it. And everyone just kind of goes with it. And so a few more get put up. There's like another one who kind of becomes like a sort of, he's not like a parasite. Like he's like a sort of douchey Yakuza guy who gets called Hoodlum, and then Cutthroat joins the team, and then basically it just turns into like a Suicide Squad situation. They all get like neck braces that'll explode, and now they have to kind of follow commands, not from the government, but from a mysterious figure. Anyway,
okay. So everything, like, I feel like your description, and this is not your fault. I mean, maybe it's your fault. Who knows? But it was like one step forward of like, okay, and then 2 steps back of like, oh god. So
I am not.
Is this show actually any interesting?
It is very visually attractive, and for me, like, I was in the room, I watched this with Floral, Alex, and a few other guys. They are having a blast, and
Men of mediocre taste.
It kind of helped me enjoy it a little bit more. I thought it was a little lacking in substance. It is very fun. Every episode title is reverent to a movie. The first one is Seven.
Oh my god, of course.
The second one is Reservoir Dogs. The third one is Mission Impossible.
What?
The fourth one is Speed.
Oh my god.
The fifth one that just came out
is hard stuck in the 90s. Okay.
Is a Dead Man Walking right now. But yeah, it's super super stylistic and fun. And
it's some early director's passion projects. For sure.
In general, though, definitely not a lot going on in the writing department that's super unique. But it is.
Oh, really? That's because that's like the moment where it's kill or be killed.
For me, I don't think it's doing too much. For me, I think that like visually, it's very reverent. Like I said, to Blade Runner. All the characters have really fun character designs. Like if you look at the cast of like the main like 6 or 7, like between like Courier, Swindler, Brawler, Hoodlum, etc. Like they make a really fun like rogues gallery between all of them. Like they do kind of have that like fun sort of almost like not exactly like to the degree of like, you know, Cowboy Bebop and that crew, but like they definitely make a colorful collection of characters in there, and like they're all fun to kind of see them bounce off each other. But beyond that, though, there isn't a whole lot of character development for any of them individually yet, and we're on episode 5, and it's more of like them being the vehicle for you to see the world. They have very one-note personalities, so with most of it all falling back on Swindler, aka like the ordinary person, to sort of carry the narrative.
That's not good, in my opinion, personally, because usually when you have these, like, we were just talking about No More Heroes, and I think to an extent you can also extend to like Cowboy Bebop and even Ocean's 11, when you have these worlds that are analogous to ours, but like just in the seedy underbelly, or like basically a world that is relatable but nonetheless outside of our grasp or outside of our scope. You want to have your main character be like you don't want the training wheels on. You want the motorcycle that's just ready to go. And like if you're spending half the time explaining everything to this like fish out of water scenario, I feel like it can drag the show's pace down a lot. That being said, I haven't watched it, so I will have to wait and see.
In general, I think that, again, I feel like just pulling out a guess, I feel like it's kind of catering towards Western audiences in a way.
It might, but it might also just cater to the, like, what's the inverse otaku? The guys who are really into, like, American shit and stuff like that.
Oh, I know who and what you're talking about, but I don't know the term.
You forget the name, yeah.
But yeah. But in general, it's still fun. Like I said, it has a very beautiful design from top to bottom, and I feel like it could at the worst be an easy watch. You know, like we mentioned last week. Something that you could just very simply put on and kind of turn off your brain and kind of have popcorn fun with. Which is
that's fair. In and of itself, especially with the guys around or something like that.
It's much more fun with company, for sure. So I definitely think that I'm like not super motivated to watch it on my own, but I will probably finish it now that I'm like 5 episodes in. Like
you're too far in now.
Yeah. So, but it's definitely worth it, I think, in my opinion, to go ahead and at least give it a look-see. The pilot is pretty concise, so you can at least get through that, and then after that you can decide if you want to keep going or not.
That's fair.
So definitely a solid recommendation nonetheless from myself. Besides that, though, nothing really new in the anime sphere for me particularly. A lot of the same, you know, all caught up on Haikyuu. I'm keeping up with the simulcast that I want to keep up with. Halloween just passed. That was fun.
Yeah, I think just as a footnote, I think we'll go over shows when we start them, and if there's anything that makes us reconsider our opinions on them as we watch it, we'll bring it up again. Yeah. But we won't really come back to them until we're done, because otherwise we'll just be kind of repeating ourselves.
Yeah. As far as Jujutsu Kaisen or Haikyuu or Climbing Girls or anything that I'm watching right now, my opinion of any of them really hasn't changed per se. Like they've all just
Climbing Girls.
Yeah, Climbing Girls is just what exactly it is. Again, nothing new to report.
With shame on his hands and mouth.
No. It's a good 20 some minutes, you know. We definitely.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I get my.
Wait, okay. Speaking of which, do you know what promotional material they put out with No More Heroes 2? Since we were talking about it.
2?
Yeah. It was specifically in Japan, I think. It might have been in the States in a few places, but I really doubt it.
If you could describe it, maybe. Like I remember,
it was a piece of literature. I'll give you that hint.
A piece of literature promoting No More Heroes 2. No, I do not
that
remember.
you got alongside of it. So in Japan and maybe in certain parts of, in other parts of the states, if you bought No More Heroes 2, you got one of two hentai magazines promoting the game.
wait, you received one as well?
You received one as well. So if you purchased one, you got one of either what's her name, the blonde boss lady.
Yeah, I forget her name too, but yeah.
And
the French bimbo.
Yeah, and what's her name? The assassin that is in both games, the black female assassin. Yeah, Shinobu. Yeah. So that was a real classy marketing stunt there.
Always. Trust me, I would never turn down some free hentai, but like,
yeah, but you wouldn't go out publicly and buy a game.
I'm not going out if it's coming with my games, and yeah, for sure.
No, but you had to go to this game store and you had to pick it up with it.
Oh, okay. Damn.
Yeah, remember awesome. This was like 2012, I think.
I always appreciated,
or not even. It's probably like 2009 or something. It was real. That was way back.
When games give you stuff with them, it's like it's such a rare thing these days.
It's such crap, though. It was always such crap when you got shit.
But like I'm talking about like the shit that's like valuable nowadays, or like that.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Back then, it was crap.
No, I'm talking about the ones that were of value, in my opinion. Like
okay,
in particular,
I'm gonna be the douchebag right now, but I'm gonna tell you to name me one.
Two of them that come to mind right now that I thought was fun was The Witcher 3 is probably the gold standard of this, in my opinion.
Okay.
With the normal purchase of the game, they give you the soundtrack.
That's nice.
They give you a map of the world, and they give you a thank you letter from the development team.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I thought all that was very sweet and nice. I enjoy when you get like certain things with it that are of any value, like an art book. That's like not just like dog shit. Like I remember I bought Catherine like when on launch years ago. And I bought like the Super Mega Deluxe Edition on launch PlayStation 3
really?
Catherine. So I got a pair of underwear. B, a very small pillow, I believe. And C, well, actually, two more things. Actually, C, the soundtrack, and D, like a very small art book. It's like maybe only about like 16 pages or something like that.
I hate the Atlas giveaway art books. They're like, maybe 20 pages.
Yeah, it's just a few prints.
Guys,
and like,
come on.
They're not even like 8x11, but they're like these little dinky things. But it's the thought that counts. But the rest of that stuff's cool. But then I'm paying like an extra like $20 for it. So in that case in particular, I'm talking about stuff that just comes out with. Like I was remembering GTA 4 came out with the map of basically what is fake New York.
I guess, yeah. I'm thinking back to like when Resident Evil 5 came out with like the golden African medallion, or like the really dumb marketing stints that they pulled with that kind of.
How many times games come out with like little keychains and whatever little giveaway things just to kind of put a little stamp on the experience of buying the game in person.
Yes,
but it's like. I appreciated some of those gestures from, even though they're just like marketing ploys.
Well, they're marketing ploys to make you buy the game as opposed to like buy a pre-used copy or something like that. Yeah. It was just always such crap.
Most of the time it's crap. I agree. But there are
pretty
some
crap
instances where I digress. So I feel like it's gonna be a very video game centric thing. So for Halloween, I ended up playing. Do you know about the Dark Pictures anthology series?
Yes.
Yeah, so we played, me and a couple of my compatriots on Saturday. We played the newest one, Little Hope, on Saturday, on Halloween itself. And because like the week prior we had played the Man of Medan, the one prior.
Yeah, and that one wasn't very good.
Okay.
Because I know it's by the guys who did Until Dawn, and I love Until Dawn. Until Dawn's really, really well done. But I heard that the follow up to that, the Man from Medan, was like just kind of too close to the slasher, like the bad slasher films.
I'm not a big fan of horror. I'm gonna preface this. I'm gonna preface a few things before I say what I'm gonna say. I'm not a huge fan of horror. In the sense, I'm not a huge fan of the Western horror. Not to like be kind of like snobby, but like a lot of the schlocky jump scares and more flat writing that you'll get with Western horror as opposed to an Eastern horror, which is like mostly focused on psychological shit, and then kind of very sometimes steeping into myth and supernatural elements. Not that that's not prevalent in Western horror, but the way that they explore that, I feel like is much more interesting in J horror and Korean horror films, which are some of the only horror films that I really get to buy into. Like, you never really enjoy a movie without tension, and that's like kind of the biggest issue with me when I watch something or play something horror. I'm not like in there, like I'm not experiencing what the game is trying to make me experience, which is tension and fear, and I'm always like a little bit detached. But with regards to Man of Medan and Little Hope in particular, yeah, it's very schlocky. Man of Medan in particular, it's fun though. The first one was fun. We played it as like a multiplayer experience, you know, kind of like playing, like taking turns playing Heavy Rain essentially. You got a bunch of people playing like an interactive theater game, and you all in a group setting is much more enjoyable. For Man of Medan, we had fun. Little Hope, I had significantly less fun. I was like, and again, if I guess AJ or anyone else who was there will know, I was like sleeping through most of it. And let me tell you, I did not need to sleep through it.
No.
Because I had plenty of sleep that day.
This is a Broly situation.
This was a choice, more or less, because it's like I appreciated how pretty the game looked. Like, it definitely was production-wise done well, very pretty mocap too. The writing in particular for Little Hope, the most recent game that came out, they and I don't know if you know, Chris, but these games intend to come out once a year.
Yep.
And they intend to come out with one more. I think it was like the last one coming up was like House of Ashes or something for 2022. Or 2021, excuse me.
Yeah, because they found a formula and they were like, well, if Telltale can do it, not realizing that Telltale was on fire. Yeah. But if Telltale can do it, then we can do it too. It's like, guys, like, it's frustrating because, again, like, Until Dawn was really, really good.
Yeah, Until Dawn, I've seen.
It kind of was this, like, I want to say bottle, like lightning in a bottle. But at the same time, it was the slowest bottle of lightning ever, because it was announced before the PS4 even came out, and it was only released like 2 years into the PS4's life cycle or something like that. It took forever to get everything right, and you could and it showed. Like, the writing was really solid, all the acting was really well done. Script was like very, I don't want to say entirely original, but at least had the decency to be somewhat self-aware about like horror tropes, so that even if you're sick about horror, you know, you can at least have a little fun with it, poking fun at it without it being too overt. Yeah, like I'm one of the few people that actually did not fully enjoy Cabin in the Woods, because I don't know, Joss Whedon just kind of bumps off me for some reason. But because like that movie in particular is a little too on the nose for a lot of its stuff, even though the visuals are great and like the whole production's great, but like just the concept itself is not as genius as I think a lot of people give it credit for. But Until Dawn, on the other hand, kind of does everything really well, where it's still following the rules that its own genre sets up, but it undercuts it in a lot of different ways, and that's what makes it really fun. And also just having that element of like, it's a game you want to play with people around you, where you're all screaming, no, do this, no, do that, and stuff like that. And I feel like that's what they want to kind of recapture with these sequel games, but you still need to have good writing and good performances, and you can't do that in a year.
Yeah, that's the
like, you just can't.
That in particular is kind of where like I kind of lost it with this game. Like, Man of Medan, like each one has like a marquee actor, so to speak, as far as like the big money boy. The last one was like Shawn Ashmore.
Who
is Iceman from X-Men.
Again.
For Man of Medan, not for Little Hope.
That's what I mean, but what I'm getting at is like, wait, who is this? But anyway, continue.
You're like, I do not remember this man.
Yeah, I don't remember
this one.
Guy
I'm trying to remember in particular his name. Let me Google it real quick. It was the gentleman, I believe, who played. Notable. I think he played the It Clown, but I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, goody. I mean, good for him for getting more work, because that's... God, I was about to say something really asshole-ish right now.
Either way, actor's name withstanding at the moment. The point being, the game is it's set basically. It's a sail. It's you get lost in a little. Your bus overturns. You're set in a situation where you're kind of trapped in a town called Little Hope, which is basically Salem. It's like a
Little Hope.
Yes, it's called Little Hope. Yeah, who'da thunk?
Who'da thunk?
Yeah, it's
a bad
essentially
feeling about this.
Your people, up in North Connecticut, north.
Your people. Oh, okay.
It's set in like a Salem, witch trial, little town in bumblefuck nowhere, and the cast is like kind of living through what seems to be kind of perpetual. Like they're contacting. At first, they can't leave. Like it's sort of a, if you're familiar with D&D, like a Barovian situation where like the fog doesn't let them leave.
Yeah.
And then they start having visions of the past, basically back in 1692 or whatever, during like these Salem witch trials, and like they basically have characters back then that look exactly like themselves. Almost like reincarnate versions, and they're able to interact with them to a degree. And without going too much into the details of the story, it's an interesting tale to say the least. It kind of has, in my opinion, a really kind of dorky heel turn at the very end. But the reason why I don't find it terribly exciting as an experience, because like when we played Man of Medan and we played Little Hope, we played all the way through one go. So both were like 5-hour experiences about for one playthrough, 5 to 6 hour experiences, just shotgunning through them. And again, with the people around, fun to a degree. As far as like much more fun the first time, less novel the second time for me, and what was even worse was the writing. The premise is whatever, for a horror like schlick. It was the interpersonal dialogue in between the characters, which was so fucking dry. Like it's like if there isn't like a very very well designed spooky scary monster on screen or like some jump scare that's happening. It's pretty boring. Like if you're just wandering around these areas and like these characters have nothing interesting to say to each other, and as like an interactive drama, like there wasn't a whole lot of drama in between like the very very marquee horror shit. And this is just my experience. For me in particular, I thought it was like a little lackluster. Like I was just not interested if there wasn't very very poignanted produced horror shit in front of me. So.
I mean, that's the problem with a lot of these is that, I mean, I don't know why I'm thinking about Godzilla, but I can think about Godzilla as well, where you have to have the human element to these stories. You can't just have monster and monster does things. You need to have a human element to the story. But the problem is that like a lot of times these human elements are like not thought out at all. It's like just make them sympathetic and make it be really sad when some of them die. It's just
they were definitely the weakest element for me.
Like in Until Dawn, the character drama between them all was hokey. It was like dumb high schooler shit. But it was still enough to get you by, and in fact kind of drove the story until the actual scary part gets involved. And that makes you feel a bit more for the characters when they're in these life or death situations, and it helps that you're the one kind of deciding whether you know it or not. You can say, you know what, I don't care what happens to this person, so whatever. Or you can say, I want them to live, but you still make the wrong choice, or you make the right choice, and that's a success as well. That helps that whole branching paths thing, since the whole branching path narrative is kind of silly in video games in general, because everything kind of has to still come back to either one of 2 or 3 resolutions, more or less. But
usually sometimes you have something like Beyond, or what was it, Detroit Beyond Human or whatever the heck.
Yeah, but even Detroit is the best example of like the split narrative, but honestly the writing is just so terrible in that fucking game that
of all the
let's not get into David Cage. I cannot do this.
David Cage, our boy.
David Cage is a hack French filmmaker that somehow makes video games. That's how it is.
David is such an interesting character. We won't get into it, obviously.
He's like slightly above Uwe Boll in like terms of filmmaking. We're
getting really snobby today. Like, this is like
so bad,
mega snobby podcast today. But
it's not. No, I'm just saying that this freaking filmmaker is not very good. what can you say? And I'm just saying that the guys who did Until Dawn, they had a really good game, and now they're rushing the next two, so they're not as good. Like, that's not snobby.
Fair criticisms, nonetheless. For me, it's like it has not really been much more anime though. Like I said, like nothing noteworthy to say about most of the anime that we've been watching. It's been fun, and I do want to. There's several I want to check out. Higarashi's been fun. I keep telling myself I am definitely gonna put out the Higurashi videos.
It's really funny. I stumbled upon, because it's not called Higurashi. It's called Yagaresmi or something, like half-blooded demon princess or something.
Oh, you're talking about Yashahime, aren't you?
I'm talking about Yashahime. Sorry, I'm mixing up everything.
Yashahime is the Inuyasha sequel series.
Because, and you can understand me getting it mixed up with Higurashi.
I'm like, you got two different series here.
I got two different series.
Series on multiple levels.
I stumbled into that one. And because I didn't realize it was the sequel, and
did you
as
watch
soon as I realized,
no,
I did not watch the original.
Are you enjoying Yashahime?
No. I literally got 5 minutes in before I saw that it was Boruto, and I was like, "This is not for me."
Before you saw it was Boruto, is that what you said?
Well, because it's Boruto. Listen, like you get that intro where it's like sudden, like it suddenly shows you like how this character is related to the previous characters, and how you know the two of them initially met, and it's supposed to be this big wondrous moment, and it's like, I get it's lost on me. That's okay, that's fair. But then that title card drops, and it's like generic J-Rock anime title opener, and I'm like, okay, this is not for me. It's okay, this is fine, this is not bad, but this is not for me.
Yeah, definitely. That and Boruto obviously bank hugely on the nostalgia and like the connective
and
factor,
they softball for like the widest possible audience with like those generic anime titles, and it's just like, okay, we're good, it's fine. Christ, you want me to get real snobbish. So let me talk about the one anime that I did start this week. And it's an anime from 2010 by Studio Madhouse, actually. Co-produced by our boys who did...
Madhouse did One Punch Man and shit.
I know, but it was co-produced by another studio that we know really well, but I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Well, what's the name of the anime?
The anime is the Tatami Galaxy, and it has
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I put this in my queue in our Funimation thing, so you probably have like skimmed by it once or twice. But in general, it's a show about a college-age boy who is confronted by a god of matchmaking, more or less, in Japanese lore. And up until this point, he's kind of missed out on his his youthful love. Pardon me. Okay, hopefully that got edited out. But anyway,
or not.
He missed out on his young love. And is confronted by this matchmaking god, and is basically told, hey, this is your last shot. There's one girl, I'm going to match her up with this guy or you. And that doesn't sound that interesting, but between the very unique art style that is very psychedelic, mishmashing real life cinema and like film with hand-drawn character designs that kind of reminisce both cartoons as well as like classic Japanese art. You get this lovely animated sequence that is carried into almost psychotic speed levels of dialogue. Like even if you spoke Japanese, you would have a tough time keeping up with the amount of shit that's coming out of these characters' mouths.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what I like about it is that you catch a lot of lines that, going back to Normal Heroes, that you would get in something that's as outlandish as that series. You get these lines of like, well, I gotta find the exit, and like do I want to continue letting this thing crumble before me like the cake that I'm stuffing in my fat fucking face, like shit like that, where it really kind of sits in you, and you almost want to watch it again to see like, God, what did I miss? Because this guy's talking like 10 miles an hour. But what ties it all together is that the few moments of levity that are not psychotic and that are not violent and that are not over the top are those moments when he's just hanging with this girl that he's supposed to be matched up with. Yeah. And it's not like nothing's made to be overly romanticized. Like, she has her faults. She's not like the prettiest girl in school, but like, she's nice. She works with him. They have good chemistry, and you can kind of see where they would get along. The only thing getting in his way is his own paranoia and his own psychological issues. And the show is just so unique. I wouldn't say it's fantastic, and it really is not for everybody. I would say this is a show for people like myself who easily get sick of tropes. Because this does not make fun of the trope. It is instead a character study on this guy, with a almost nonsensical plot that lets you understand his stream of thought, as opposed to getting you from point A to point B. And I'm definitely going to continue it because it really captured my attention in the first episode. So.
No, it's super unique, and it already was on my radar for a while because I saw you watching it, so I was like, oh, this is where I most recently saw it.
Yeah.
But I remember intending to watch it a while back, because I remember it was a part of a Google search I did on Masaki Yuasa. He's the series director for Tatami Galaxy, and he was the series director for a show that I really like, well, several shows, Ping Pong the Animation. He did Devilman Crybaby. He did the most recent. He did the movie that I've been trying to get you to watch, Ride Your Wave.
Oh, I did want to see that. Okay, that and the Wonderland I am planning on seeing.
Yeah, yeah, and he is the series director for Japan Sinks as well. So he's done a lot over the last few years, and
that similar art style. So if you haven't seen this show, then yeah, Ping Pong the animation and Devilman Crybaby are definitely good signs of what this style of show is.
There's a film actually also as well. If I remember, The Night is Short, Walk On Girl. He directs that.
Whoa, that's a fucking title.
Yeah, it's The Night is Short, Walk On Girl. It looks exactly like Tatami Galaxy. It looks exactly like Devilman Crybaby. It's like keyed into that style. I don't know what his animation studio is. But like it's definitely that very marquee sort of like almost Clamp-esque, like XX-holic sort of look.
Yeah, definitely like aspiring from like the heavy metal era of animation and stuff like that.
But it's super clean, and a lot of his work is fantastic.
I wouldn't describe it as clean.
I would not think like crisp in movement. I would say As far as like,
it's very animated. It's very stylistic,
clean.
But
definitely is not a word I would use for like Ping Pong or any of these series. Yeah, it's like almost psychedelic.
Exactly. It's always meant to put you in a mindset, because none of the dialogue's gonna put you there, because you're just gonna be trying to get there, trying to grasp it as quickly as you can. So that's cool to know. I didn't know he was behind Devilman Crybaby, because I never watched it, because I just kind of heard it was too like a bit over the top.
Yeah, he's like one of those few like modern Japanese auteurs, I would call him. Like I keep track of just a few of them, because like there's not many to really keep track. You know, you've got like obviously the biggest. You've got the Makoto Shinkais of the world, and you've got like obviously like the Studio Ghibli shit. But then you also
the studio that works with Makoto Shinkai. That was the co-op that was with Madhouse for this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Besides that, I haven't really been playing. Like, I just bought Guilty Gear.
Not Strive for Accent Core.
Yeah,
Accent Core plus R.
Yeah, the rollback, and plus it was $3 on sale, so I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
So I was like, how could I say no? And if you want it, it's still on sale today on Steam. So
that being said, beta ends today, so rip.
I'll get Strive. Guilty Gear Strive.
No. I'm saying the beta for the GGPO version of Accent Core R.
Yeah. I got Accent Core Plus R.
I'm sure they'll put it back in, to be honest. Like, that'd be so weird if they're like, hey, here's the good netcode. Glad everybody loves it. Okay, bye, never again.
Well, I'm not going to be playing with the netcode. More likely than not, I'm like an IRL guy, and I'm probably going to be playing like me.
I get you, yeah.
But
you and the crew in the nearby Philly area are a rarity.
For you, yeah.
Well, not even for me, just the country in general.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. We're definitely an anomaly. Yeah. Like me, Plural, and Alex, like, and me being able to see the amount of people I see, and again, not like an ostensibly high amount, but like on a consistent basis, see friends and such, is definitely something I know that other people are not privy to, and that's something I don't take for granted, especially within the FGC. Like, even with our friend groups, within like that type of community for fighting games, like they definitely struggle, and you see how vital IRL involvement was to...
I mean, it's only vital because the online's been so shit as of late, but stuff like GGPO, I know Mike Z is involved, and that's a whole whatchamacallit.
Yep.
But
whole other can of worms.
Yeah, whole other can of worms. But with GGBO being integrated into Accent Core, and people seeming to love it, and apparently Strive is going to have GGPO. Apparently,
wow, that's awesome. Actually,
big apparentlys. I keep hearing this, but this is not news. I should say this is apparent rumor. But because Strive is going to have that, hopefully the lobby system is great. This is anime, so this is fine for discussion. But how was your time revisiting Accent Core? Because I have never played Accent Core. I've only played. Oh, I thought you said you played a bunch of it.
No. I played Accent Core previously. I played Accent Core Plus before. That's not the issue. I was not that good at it. I want to learn it more formally. We've been playing a lot of old fighting games, and it's been a blast. Like, I've been learning Garo. We've been playing 02, like King of Fighters 02 Unlimited Match, a lot. And Third Strike, quite a bit. And for a time we were even playing like just a little bit of like MVC2 as well and CVS2.
Yeah,
but mostly that 90s era fighting games, if you couldn't tell.
And what's funny is that, like, because I came into fighting, despite me being like probably bigger into fighting games currently, of the current era than you guys are. I always wonder if we're ever going to be able to grab the attention of people who used to who like playing those older games again. You know what I mean?
I think so. I think so.
It doesn't feel. I don't feel like we ever get to you guys as hard as like these remakes do and stuff like that.
I think that we always have our weather eye on the horizon for any game. Like, you talk to any of the guys, they're all like, "Yeah, we're gonna probably play Strive," but we all have tentative interest in Strive because we'd rather play something that's more designed like Accent Core. Or like even Revelator and Xrd were like, I think, a good happy place for Guilty Gear execution and style. Is it just
that tougher execution that like kind of evens the play field a bit?
That is attractive. Again, I'm not like the hugest anime fighter guy. Like, I'm not a guy who's
because I'm not trying to put you in the corner about it, because I'm just genuinely interested, because like, I don't know if you saw fucking Valle's tweet. Alex Valle got, for anybody who's for this podcast just for anime, you have to be so fucking lost right now, and I apologize. Yeah, but we're doing this anyway.
A lot of Google searches you're gonna need to do later.
Yeah, exactly. But like, Mr. Street Fighter, Alex Valle posted on Twitter something about like, everybody being soft nowadays, and between having a bunch of resources and not being able to take trash talk anymore. But that's basically a bunch of boomer talk.
I don't know.
I like Valle. He works. Oh God.
Another Google search that will not yield anything anyway.
That will not yield anything because he's been erased from fucking time. Like Ash Crimson from fucking. Oh, it's not Ash Crimson. Shit. What's that character's name? It is Ash Crimson, right?
From King of Fighters?
Yeah. So he was, Rogue Yoshi, like Ash Crimson, erased from the annals of history.
Yeah, there's other things I could bring up, but go on.
But anyway, point being is that you definitely have this breed of older FGC members that are not satisfied with the way that the current games play, and they vocalize it in various ways. But ultimately, I feel like it comes down to it not playing the way they like it to, or at least that's the argument I can stomach. That's the argument I can understand and reason with.
It's very linear situation, in my opinion, when it comes to the appeal of fighting games and to both old and new fans. The execution barrier mechanically for a game obviously is a deterrent for new players, which is why they try to make games as accessible and easy to understand from a system standpoint as possible. So you got things like Guilty Gear, Strive. You look at it, combos are not long, and they do fuck ton of damage, which is, and like that's kind of the appeal of like a Mortal Kombat game. Mortal Kombat has the, we'll call it the skill ceiling to achieve like longer, more complex strategy and combos. But like for a pick up and play game, I know anybody could really do Mortal Kombat. Not to like shit on Mortal Kombat players for saying like they're playing a a casual game, so to speak. But that is, the appeal if you want to like show your girlfriend or show your friends or show your parents or whoever, I guess, like your coworker, hey, let's sit down and play this game when you come over to my house or when we play online. You want to be able to teach them within a relatively short amount of time and not like overwhelm them with like, okay, this is how you block, this is how you kick, and then like these are all the complexities of your offense and defensive capabilities. It's like, no, they just want to be able to like grab and go. And
right, but I would say that modern ones still have that avenue of it. Like Christ, if I don't know, I get that the combo executions are easier now. And that's like somewhat hindering for some people for some reason. That's the argument I don't understand fully.
I think it's like the skill and the strategy is just a modicum more complex in older games, dependent on the game. And yes, like for the speed of the game too, for some of them, is something that I feel like is much more attractive than current games. Because like when you dummy down the system, it also kind of seems to affect the pace of a game somewhat. Like I feel like Fighter Z.
Yes, I feel like it really, like, I feel like that the pace of the game comes from a lot more of the offensive advantages as well as like the risk reward favor. Like, because like a lot of people point to like Third Strike, for example, as like massive, as like incredibly fast paced, but part of that is because your defense is so high risk, high reward. Like parrying, you can fuck up that easily.
Yeah.
But it's kind of your only way to break a lot of certain offensive situations that
and then
your opponent has.
Defense to offense, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the kind of back and forth that becomes very quick. Whereas Street Fighter 4, which I don't think many people would argue is very hard in terms of combos, that game has slug pacing.
It can
because of its defensive options. So, it's not like a game being harder makes the game go faster.
No. Yeah, that wasn't the correlation I was trying to make. Yeah, I think that is like a commonality between the old games that I feel like maybe they're looking for games that are more aggressive, perhaps. Like, because if you look at like old games, like you watch MVC2 and like we were watching old Evo, like 04, 05 DVD trailers.
Yeah.
Like very recently, like the trailers for the Evo DVDs, and like you can see like one of the hype moments is Yipes from playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and his return to the scene in like 05, and like he's doing his spiral team infinite on somebody to chip them to death essentially, because they can't get out of it if it's executed perfectly. It's like an infinite, and it's like that type of smothering offense and high level execution for high level reward that is, I think, a commonality between like these old games. Like you play Third Strike, it is very distinctive who is the better player. Like it is a game that like there's not any room for a random chance that the other person.
But it's so weird how people keep attributing this like quote unquote random chance.
Oh, I'm not
where
saying
it's
that
like
in fighting games.
No, but I'm saying you just said it right now, and maybe you didn't mean to. Maybe
I mean like there's no comeback factor. I should say like there's no X factor in the wings. There's no ultra building up.
There's always super. There's always meter. There's always all these mechanics that have a comeback factor to them. Like, unless we're talking about Footsies, the game by Hi Fight, or Street Fighter 2 original.
Yeah, there's an element.
There's always that comeback factor. There's always going to be a factor that's not originally available at round start notice.
Yeah, I think this conversation could definitely cycle the drain for a while.
I can, and I only press it not because I'm like trying to be hard on it or anything, but it's like I really want to boil it down to like what the fuck matters.
Yeah.
Because it feels like it feels like I hear 12 different things from 12 different people.
Yeah.
And they come from everywhere. Like this, like it feels like the Smash players want to have like amazing air you asshole. It feels like the Smash players want to have like amazing air movement and you know like you know just like a bunch of things that oh god damn it. A bunch of things that are unique to Smash, and the Third Strike players want a bunch of things that are unique to Third Strike, and you know, so on and so forth. And it's like, I guess what I get kind of not frustrated with, but just like almost depressed about is that these arguments kind of circle down to I just want to play the game that I grew up enjoying.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, you are, you know, privy to the things that shaped your tastes, obviously, and in general, like. Yeah.
And I say that makes me depressed because that means the argument will never get past that. People will find nuanced ways to argue that ultimate point by saying, you know, this game required more skill or this and that required that and so on and so forth, and thus it is ultimately better. But like, it just kind of makes me sad that we'll just never get along in that regard.
Possibly.
Like there's no such thing as the perfect fighting game.
You're like looking at like the Batman.
I'm trying to be the UN here and trying to get everybody to make peace when I don't realize that there's just cultural differences at the end of the day.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I feel like there can still be a deep love and appreciation for like modern fighting games. Even from an old school perspective, even if it's not what it tailors towards your innate interests towards the game, we still play the crap out of new games. You know me, like we've been playing the crap out of Tekken 7 for years now, and I love that game. Like Jeremiah has like been hopping on Fighter Z like very recently, like in force. Like people were still very willing, and like, for us in particular, not a very modern game, but like we play the crap out of King of Fighters 13. That game's like I don't even know how old now. And that's like a PlayStation 3 game at the very least, and we still play 4, and we still love these modern games. And Rob, God bless his still plays 5. He was like in a tournament last week for like the reversal or whatever online, and
that's cool.
And so we still play, we still love, and we still appreciate the new games. So we'll definitely, and God knows, we still buy them. With the Samurai Showdowns and the fucking Soul Calibur 6s, and like we've been buying them and still participating and like appreciating them. It's just that I feel like the longevity of these games doesn't always match up because of that inherent interest in certain like elements of a fighting game. Like, like we were saying, like we have things that we've treasured. I'm not like a super OG fighter, like, but for me, like I was more of like an 09er, not to get too deep into this because this is very, 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 very niche at this point.
We're already 20 minutes at this point. Keep going.
Yeah. But I grew up in like a sort of pseudo modern era of fighting games, like in the Street Fighter 4 era, and then I backtracked heavily into like immediately into like the aughts and the 2000s, like the aughts and the 90s fighting games, just to experience them. And that was where I found a lot of the, like, I wish I'd played those games longer and earlier in my life, because I feel like there's a lot more risk reward, or rather reward for the time you put in from a training element.
Okay.
But that's as much as I could boil it down to in a second. Not that to say I could pick up and play any game that's modern very easily. Like I can't just go and pick up like Under Night Inbirth and just suddenly be a killer.
I wasn't gonna bring up, I mean, even 5 was as much as people are like,
there's depth. There's depth in all the new games for sure. Yeah, there's definitely not a shot.
It's just in different. It's definitely in different places.
Yeah, so it can. This conversation could constantly be circling all the many minutiae, small details of what we appreciate about things, but I'm surprised we even stretched the conversation. I mean, I know you and I could talk about this probably for an additional hour, but I don't think that whoever's godforsaken soul is still listening at the hour and 4 whatever how long this podcast is going to tolerate more fighting games. And if you do enjoy fighting games and you are still listening, we fuck with you. And say who you are down below so that I know you exist. But yeah.
Who knows? Maybe we'll try to do something with it down the line.
Yeah,
but anyway,
it'd be fun. I mean, we have a deep love for it, so.
Should probably wrap up. I actually have to speak of fighting games, go commentate something within the next couple minutes or so.
It's been definitely a solid, chunky podcast. Thank you guys for whoever is listening. If you had fun, when on the YouTubes, feel free to hit the likes and the subscribes button if you had a good time and want more Otaku Remix content. Again, shout out below if you're feeling any of the content we had today. We talked about a lot of different stuff: Akudama Drive, the Tatami Galaxy, Little Hope, etc., etc. So a lot of stuff to go ahead and gab about if you had any interest down below. The Twitters and the such will be linked in the bio at this point. And Chris, anything else that I forgot?
No, I think that's it. Thank you so much for stopping by. And hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Stay safe. Be sure to vote. And just be kind to one another.
Yep. Love y'all. Have a good day. Have a good life. We'll see you next time.